Do it later. I'll put it in the chat. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to bring us all together because we're talking about how our tool sets that we're building can start collaborating a little bit more effectively. So Jamaica and Caitlin, you guys were going to share a little bit about open impact and where you guys are at with that. And then Leo, she's been kind of leading and stewarding the side on the Hypha+ and the front end and how that all looks. So being an absolute epic human over there. So it's probably the best group of designers and humans to come together and talk, the high level, what does it look like to collaborate? And then later on, we can pull in the actual dev teams and talk practical implementation. Does that make sense?
Cool.
Does anyone else want to add anything to that agenda, shift it, change it?
Sequencing wise, just because we're working very broadly, and I think that there's a particular intersect around the do stuff. So I'm curious if it might make sense to share Hypha first and then have us sort of respond to that with that context to start to kind of weave, and then we can go back and forth. Would that work?
Sure. Did you guys watch the video, the 30-minute one over the Hypha+?
I don't think did you send that? I didn't see anything come through around that.
Maybe I didn't send it.
I don't think I saw it.
That would have been very helpful.
Yeah. I was like,
well, I'll send that one after this. So then what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to explain it again. And maybe Leo, if you wanted to explain it, then you can have two different perspectives rather than hearing me twice.
Of course, sure. So were you thinking like a little mini presentation? I just walk you through the do and the features we currently have?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, okay, let me share my screen. I haven't actually prepped anything, so I'm just going to share my screen, what I'm working on anyways. And I don't think I want to make this too long, otherwise you're going to fall asleep possibly if I'm just keep talking and walking you through every little screen. But I think, yeah, what you can see here is pretty much the new do. And yeah, this is how the platform looks like. So actually, this is how it looks like when you get in there. This is how you start. And you have a sort of, yeah, dashboard where you can see a little bit about the treasury. This one is not very active, 0 new proposals. But, you can imagine that other do's will have more proposals, your members list, a little bit of explanation how it works, and so on. And then once you get to the proposals, you see that these proposals have all been rejected. This is a very critical do. They do not like what's been proposed, but obviously this is all just test and dummy data. So we've been just testing around. And yeah, so we have different categories. You can just upload a generic contribution or a role archetype, a badge. You can propose all of these things. And when you go in, you can vote for it. And again, this is probably not the best example. Let me check, maybe I find a better do. So you see we have all these test do's here at the moment. I think
this is beautiful. I'm very excited.
Well, and that's the other side of it, is when she's clicking through all these different do's, these are all the different organizations that you could be a part of, right?
Yeah. So right now I'm Johnny Hypha and I'm in every do. I'm pretty much yeah, the most active testing person here. But here you can see this proposal got accepted and it was pulled up by Puga, and he wanted a test batch assignment that's for 20 periods. And here you can see Puga voted yes and no and so on. Again, this is not the best example because it's all dummy data, but I think you get the idea. So whatever you want to do, a new policy, you want to roll, you want to, I don't know, apply for a badge or whatever, you can do that here and everyone can vote. Everything is public. You see who has how much voting power and who voted yes, who voted no, how much is missing, how many days are left. Everything is in here. And yeah, I think that's probably the most exciting part of the whole do, the voting. We also have our members list. So you can see who are members of these do's. This is our beautiful dev team, Jema, Jerry, Puga. They're all working really hard to make this work. And then we have a page about the organization. So here you see a little bit about the treasury. You can see the archetypes and the badges that this organization has. But of course, every organization is different. Some might not have badges at all. Some have more. Here we have 11 active assignments. And yeah, so you can see the archetypes. You can check them out. And then you see, oh, awesome. I want to be a new role for Cool DAO by Leo. And then you can click apply. And you get directly into this sort of creation wizard. And here, step by step, you can, I don't know, write something, choose the dates when you want to, I don't know, let's say I want to do this for one whole day because, I don't want to commit too much. And then you can decide, okay, I'm going to be 100% committed and I only want to get paid 50%. The other 50% are going to be deferred. And however I want to split those tokens, you see exactly what you'll get here. The voice token that you can use to vote, the native token, in our case, the Hypha token. And if they do want it like a pack token that you can switch for another liquid cryptocurrency. Next step. And then I publish. In order to publish, I have to sign the transaction. I actually don't know if I have Anchor open right now. So yeah, not sure if that's working. There we go.
Leo, really quick, but there's so many A's here. I just had one quick question about in the voting process. There's a yes, no. Is there do you guys have a way to have like discourse, basically? Like if it's something that needs conversations before somebody just offers a yes or no, is that sort of integrated in here?
Right now we have abstain, so it means I have seen this, I do not want to vote. And we're currently, so this is our MVP, right? And I mean, I could go on forever, but we have so many features coming up. So what's pretty much already done, we're just waiting a few weeks for everything to be stable, is a staging. So you publish to staging and you have a comment section. So people can go back and forth and be like, you sure? Don't you want to change that? So you have time to change it before it goes on chain. And then once, you think, okay, now I feel confident, you publish and then people vote. And we're also thinking about extending voting into 5-scale voting. So you have a bit more,
spectrum. Cool.
Full support
Yeah, I love
so that's in the making. Again, you can create a new proposal, same story. Right now we only have a generic contribution. We have role assignments, batch assignments, and then the actual role and the actual batch. So if you're the first one to come up with a, design a role, so you first create a role and then later somebody can apply to it. But in the making, we have quests. So like a quest, you just propose a quest, and then if the organization says, yes, we want it, then you do it, and then you get paid for whatever that quest is. We're going to have a bridge contribution if you forgot to, extend your assignment. We're going to have policies and strategies that are very simple, like, okay, should we change voting from 20% quorum to 40%? And then everyone can vote on it, and later that can be changed. And then we have the profile, maybe interesting too, because there we go. So in my profile, I look a little bit older in my profile picture, but you can see this is the assignments I'm currently, this is the one I just created. It's currently being voted on. Nobody has voted yet. This one got rejected, and this one is upcoming. And then I see some contributions that I did. I haven't written much about me yet. I can see the recent votes that I did. So I just have a list of where I voted for what. And on the left side, you see that I don't have any badges yet, but I can apply for one. This is all the organizations I'm in. And you see these are a lot because I'm a very active member. We have the wallet. So right now I don't have any funds in this particular do. Maybe in another one I do. Just a little bit of voice. And I can add my wallet address. That's not public, it's just for me. So if I do get paid in a redeemable token, it will get into my EOS account or Bitcoin or Ethereum. Same for contact info, that's only visible to me. So,
and adding a little bit more context on that outside treasury bit. So when Leo is talking about pay, we have the native token, which the organization can create. It's the Hypha token. We can create infinite number of these tokens. So you have an infinite treasury in that sense. But then organizations probably also have maybe a bank account treasury, or they're holding Bitcoins or EOS or a whole bunch of different other cryptos. That could then be held in a treasury. And then when you're paying that out, you pay out the HUSD bit, that she just highlighted there. And then when they click redeem, they can choose how they want to redeem it. So this is how we've been paying people their upfront pay for the last 3 years, is we've never had a bank account. We've only done crypto payments, right? But then people will get paid in HUSD and they say, yep, I want to send $500 back out. And then immediately $500 of some crypto token is then sent to their account that they chose. So then people can then set up a crypto exchange account and say, I'm going to take all my payments in EOS, because EOS has it's fee-free and instant to send. And then it goes right to your Coinbase account, and then you can take it out in dollars into your bank account, which is what people have been doing.
So in that case, I had a role. Sorry, just to
no, that's perfect. Thanks, Leo.
No, I had a role here, and you can see I worked all these periods, but I haven't claimed yet. So when I click claim, I will sign a transaction, and now it's the ultimate test that's working already. And now my wallet should be updated, and you see I just got 50 HUSD and 38 Hypha token. because I claimed my pay for that period that I worked.
So I have a long backlog of questions and I wanted to get some in before, because this is so much and this is so exciting. I would love to maybe just sort of weave in a handful of layers, because I'm starting to already envision kind of where there's connectivity, if you don't mind, a handful of specific.
So I think we're pretty much, this is like the quick overview. There's a few more small things here and there, like the explore page where you see all the do's, but yeah, maybe we can just.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just reaching saturation of mental capacity.
Where do you want me to start?
Well, okay,
so to start.
Yeah, I have a list of questions, so we don't have to go to a particular screen yet. I just wanted to go through. So first, in terms, I guess my first question is, how are the parameters of how a do makes decisions among its network set on the outset? Like, I understand that on individual projects or requests, there are some dials. I'm curious if there are a set of policies that are global to a particular organization, around kind of how they operate and how they weight particular things. Okay.
Are you thinking something like how much quorum is needed or unity, or how long the voting periods are, these kind of parameters, or?
That, I'm curious whether there's any normalization around weighting of some of those parameters that were shown on a per proposal level, if there's any like normalization that kind of happens on an organization level.
Yeah, so we have this like configuration page, and later you can go in and say, okay, right now, if 80% of the people that vote yes, it's a yes, it's passed. And you can go in here and change that to 40%, because you as an organization want that and you voted on that change. And so this can be changed per organization. And for the first go live, we thought it would be easiest for organizations if we use the Hypha parameters, because we tested those and we've changed those several times and we think they work great. So we would just give you like a standard of 80% unity, 20% quorum, vote duration of 1 week, because we think that's great. But if you try it and after a week you're like, doesn't work for us, you can change everything in here. Like this is just like a configuration page where you can change all your parameters and your design.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
so
I think
every can do their own.
Yeah, what I'm sort of thinking through are other behaviors that happen on these actual projects and how those start to inform the standardization of things like badges, or allowing groups to, in a participatory fashion, like decide what value means together, I guess. But that's really helpful context.
I can take this one. I should have sent you the videos beforehand. I thought I did. But either way, I'll send you two, and it really gets into this.
Okay.
But essentially what we're trying to create with Hypha is a bunch of primitives. So when Leo is showing you that unity and that quorum amount, when you start tweaking, because I'll call those two primitives. Quorum is a primitive and unity is a primitive, but so are how much tokens you're giving out for voice.
Yeah.
So if you as an organization say, hey, we want one person, one vote, and we want classical democracy, if 51% agree, then it happens, then you put unity at 51%.
Yeah.
And you send everyone one voice token and they can't earn any more. Everyone just has one.
Yeah.
So you can do one person, one vote. If you want consensus, then you can have the unity and quorum both be 100%. If you want consent, then you might have etc. So you can set up all of those things. And what we're working towards is that even circles within organizations can choose how they want to do governance as well.
Okay, cool.
But then also the token for the organization is just a primitive that could mean anything that any organization wants it to mean. It could be a thank you note from a 501c3, or it could be a legal share in a company if they set up an LLC for it. Badges are also just a signifier for something that gives rights and responsibilities. What they pack into that badge could be, again, whatever they want to pack into it, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. My next question was kind of around how how that voice is dynamically sort of informed over time. I suppose that ties a little bit to the voting piece, right? You mentioned kind of these badges or voice. I'm curious around, it sounds like maybe there's a proposal mechanism for new badges, and then that extends across the whole do. Does that then dictate what type of behaviors can increase someone's, like, are there, is voice dynamic based on behaviors within the organization? Is it connecting to thinking around reputation at all or anything of that sort?
So what I can show you is that when you set up a contribution, a role or whatever, you always have the chance. So we have a basically much like a set parameter, pretty much, I'm not sure what Hypha is right now. I think when you gain this and that much Hypha token, you automatically gain the same amount of voice, right? But you can set that. You can also say if somebody gets less or somebody doesn't get voice at all. And then when you create whatever it is, let's say a badge or a role, you can, sorry, on screen, you can decide how much they should get, right? So let's do generic contribution, that's the easiest. So you can decide here, okay, I want this and that much in the USD equivalent, $90. This and much I want to defer it in the Hypha token. But what you can also do, and then it automatically, the settings you set at the beginning, it's automatically calculated how much voice you would get. In this case, 90, because that's the setting, 1-to-1. But then you can also click custom compensation. You can say, you know what, I'm not really an active participant. I just did one design. I want 0 voice token. It's possible too, right? Or you can be like, okay, I don't want to get paid at all in HUSD. But I really want to be the boss of this too. I'm going to want 1 million voice token. And then you publish, and then it's up for the organization to decide, right? So you're very flexible. So there's one like generic parameter at the beginning. You said, okay, everyone should get this.
Okay, so there is then a
voice, but later you can also adjust it per batch, per role. This role should have more voice, this less, and so on. So it's super flexible.
Okay, so kind of there's sort of this atomic sort of submission of proposals that are then voted on related to people's compensation, essentially. Okay, yeah, I'm curious around, I'd love to have future conversations around like folding sort of dynamism based on sort of behaviors within organizations in a way that then informs value. I think that could be really exciting. That's where I'm seeing some intersections.
And to plug in one more thing here is what we're working on now, and this is another area I think we can have a lot of fun playing in, is templates. So you ask what are the defaults, and the defaults are going to be set by these templates.
Cool.
So
yeah,
we set our general default as, contributor governed. The more you contribute, the more voice you earn. So that's one default now, but that's going to be a template that you want to contribute, govern an organization. That's a template. Or you want to, one person, one vote organization. That could be another template. But we're going to get a little bit more creative. We're going to have like village templates and cooperative templates and investor templates or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for context, so we have, this fractal sort of many to many groups within group sort of structure that's very compatible with what you've shared here. And we're hoping to find ways to collaborate to have at the outset of group formation a set of parameters related to governance that can be selected and see great potential for compatibility there.
Yeah. So when you create your do, that's not finished yet for the first couple of do's that we're creating manually, but later you will be able to create a do within one click, right? You go and create do and you go next step. And then you have a bunch of templates, right? You want to be an investment do, a tech do, a local food economy. And then you see, okay, these have preset parameters just to make it easy. We already know you're probably going to need those 5 roles, and these 3 badges are going to be really handy for you. And we suggest, why don't you use those parameters just so people don't have to start from 0. And then you can select one of those and sort of, create a do that's not empty and already has a template, right? Like a couple of things. So I'm super curious. I don't know much about your organization yet. Can you give me an example? Or
I can just go in and then we can discuss the other stuff later. I can weave in some of the ideas that emerge or the questions that emerge.
You can also finish your questions first. I mean, that's fine too. I'm just curious to get on maybe an example of what you
it sounds like we clearly are going to need to get on a second call and a third.
I just wanted to get started because I was like, this is going to be a thing. So let's just get going on.
Yeah. So I'll drop you into our current live environment to contextualize, and then I'll show you our sort of demo environment as well, if we have time, just to kind of show a quick glimpse of where we're headed. And then maybe in the next conversation, we can get more grounded into where there might be direct intersections. For context, as I pull this up, we have a full sort of underlying ERP and learning management system. And so that's where I'm curious around some of the badges, because we can sort of tabulate weighted tokens or values based on behaviors within communities, whether that's commenting, whether that's the completion of a workflow. You can have a template around a particular badge or a particular skill, and then through going through a particular workflow, you can be auto escalated to a new role or badge based on those behaviors. And so what we've really been focusing on is that dynamic interaction between context and activity. And so kind of being able to tabulate value based on behaviors within across these.
So if I can ground this, someone could show up to an organization, do some particular behaviors, and then automatically be entered into a role because they did those behaviors rather than even needing to put up a proposal.
Yeah, exactly. Or they can say, I want to go learn how to earn this badge, and you can have a curriculum that someone goes through, and then they earn the badge for completing the curriculum, and then they can be automatically added to a group with everyone else who has that badge, so that there can be cross-pollination of knowledge and best practices among other people who have that badge. That's kind of the play space that we've been moving into, because we're about to roll out some of our template library stuff. So anyway, this is what we have right now. This is kind of our marketplace. So a lot of compatibility there with some of what's happening with Seeds. So the premise is that people can set up, these would be the equivalent of individual dues in our context. And so these could be a discrete legal organization. They can also be a broader sort of coalition. Oh no, I just got a notification thing that then closed everything. One second. I don't know where that screen went, so I'm just going to put up a new one. Okay. And they can then work on projects together. So again, a valuable sort of piece of intersection here where maybe, again, there's particular governance around projects and the value of the outcomes of those projects, which you'll understand in a moment based on some of the measurement tools that we will be rolling out. And then there's people, and people can just start kind of list what skills or knowledge they have on offer to the community. That's where that'll have a novel interaction with badges, of course, as we move forward based on either behaviors, discrete behaviors within projects or communities, or based on having completed particular trainings. But we started really simple. And so we started with kind of letting folks find one another and sort of dive into one another's efforts. And so this is sort of the stratospheric sort of level. But then to dive into some particulars, I'll show you a group first, and then I'll show you a project. So here's water principles and practices. This is sort of a coalition of hydrologists and folks within the water space. It includes many organizations and projects. I did not clear my cache, did I? Oh, no, I'm in the project. Cool. So this is a project that's part of the water kind of coalition more broadly. So I'll bring you up to the group level. I clicked on a project by mistake. And so you'll see here that folks are having discussions around kind of what they should be doing on the ground before they've even necessarily jumped into kind of project management. And so we have this shared sort of social news feed. We have shared sort of tagged discussions. I don't think this group's used tags yet, but discussion threads are sort of filterable cross-contextually. And one thread that I'm curious about is how we can start to allocate particular points or values to particular participatory behaviors within these contexts, right? And ascribe particular governance to particular projects. I'm going to zoom out to a group level next. Let me just I'll go into the
Sorry, is that the live environment? Is this?
Yeah, this is all live.
Like groups that are happening right now.
Yep. Yeah, this is live.
Awesome. Oh, that's cool. Okay.
And so this is the group that spun up that project. And so this is more broadly the Regenerative Water Alliance. And you'll see here that they're working on a couple of different projects. Oh, that's the working group. Darn it, I didn't click on the right.
Well, that's yeah.
I wanted to show what it looks like when a group has multiple groups in it. Anyway,
that
this
was
is all
a
real.
subgroup. within an organization, that was their subgroup. So there can be sort of
Yeah.
multiple groups.
So this is,
that
yeah, so this is the parent. I know we only have like 3 minutes left, so I'll have to get another call, but this is a parent group that has groups within it. And so you'll see that that one group you were just in was one of these. And then it has projects within it. And so that's where, again, there can be these interesting interactions of rolling up of credentials based on participation within these projects. And then there's also sort of can be discussion and sort of skills matching and things on the whole group level as well. And so that's where I'm seeing some interesting threads. One other area that I'll go into very quickly is an actual project. And so projects themselves, I can see here all of my tasks that I'm assigned within this project. And so people can get assigned tasks within projects. They can earn points for completing those tasks. They can earn points for how many hours they spent on those tasks. We can put in whatever kind of peer review process we would like on the completion of those tasks within a project. And something we're curious about is now starting to normalize that a little bit from a governance standpoint on the group level in a way that's still, cross-contextually interoperable. So that's one piece that I'm curious about intersections. And then you'll see that we have sort of full process workflow management. And so if I'm a manager, I can kind of look at all the different tasks here. This is, not this concept of, roles is obviously not completely flat, but part of this is just from our learnings around kind of groups that are organizing that might have sort of delegated steward leadership that help keep things organized. So that's one point to maybe to future discussion, but yeah. And then the last piece I will maybe share is I'll jump out very quickly and show you where we are headed to our demo environment to show some of where this starts intersecting with real data. And so as you'll see, and I didn't bring you through the screens to set up a project or group, but we have a flow right now where, everyone sets descriptions and parameters and invites people to their groups, but how incredible would that be if they could also make decisions during that group creation around how that group might be governed and then be able to update that collectively over time. That's something that we're really hoping towards and are really curious about intersections for. And then we also then have some transaction stuff that I'm, again, just kind of curious about the overlay there, because we can empower like many-to-many DAFs or funds to be able to distribute fiat currency across baskets of projects, but this works just as well with, let's say, a token. And on a measurement, from a measurement standpoint, again, we're moving towards having a view of whose dollars, what hours have gone into an effort in service of what units of community verified, community vetted measurable impact. And that vetting of measurable impact is another really interesting governance piece, in my opinion. And so you'll see here projects are producing impact, but the impact we don't want to actually count until another completely randomized but appropriately credentialed sort of community member, whether they've been through a training or have shown a particular type of community participation, have reviewed that impact. There are maybe other ways that we can distribute that further and make it more resemble some form of liquid democracy. But we want to incentivize the validation of impact, which then informs value flows over time. I can get more into the token piece at another time, but this is our sort of first layer of interacting with sort of old world so that we can kind of bring in sort of external fiat currency for behaviors within here, but then within we'll be rolling out community currencies and sort of a stable coin that's based on a full index of sort of impact-based metrics that then allows for us to bring in external investment funds based on impact, but then continually recirculate it within the community. And so there's plenty to play with in terms of interoperability of tokens and menus of governance. And because we have a learning management system, we can also maybe play with curricula, like if there are trainings around how to work well in community and that directly ties to badges, those are some things we can play with too. So that's the rapid fire tour.
Thank you. This tool looks amazing. I think that's super interesting. Thank you for walking me through. I feel like now we've all understood what is going on every side. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what ideas we could collaborate in, or where the tools could match. Yeah, super interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Thank you.
One last seed that I will plant. No, I can't help but always use this pun. Is that I'm curious about as well interactions among different dues within what you've been building, and what that might look like and how that might evolve over time. So super curious about kind of that community of communities, that many to many, and how that might be.
Exactly, communities of communities. So right now the idea is that you can only create a do when you're a member of a do. Sort of you'll have like a parent do, and then you'll have sister do's, and then we'll have a map where you sort of have these like circles and you see which do's are connected how. That's all a little bit further down the roadmap, because right now we're just creating the first couple of do's. So I think this is going to be the most exciting part to see. Are these actually going to be total like individual entities? How much are they going to interact with each other? One thing that's sort of global is your profile, right? So you have the same profile. If you sign up for 5 do's, you will have sort of the same profile page. But of course, on every profile, like on every do, you will have different assignments and different proposals and different voting powers. So that differs within every do, but you sort of have one global. Your personal account is kind of global. So it's really connected.
Super compatible. I didn't show you my profile, but profiles then aggregate all of your tasks and all of your messages and all of your discussions across all of your different contexts in one place.
I think this tool looks amazing. I think what we're missing a little bit, what's also a little bit on the roadmap, is like a news feed, you know, and like we will have the comment section to interact a little bit, but for now it's really like the whole part of, you know, having really a communication within the do is not, it's a little bit limited right now. So
super cool. I know we're a bit over time, but
I have a little bit of extra time to come up with just a few steps. How are we all on time?
Hard stop. So like maybe one minute.
I wrote her and said we were going to take a few minutes. If you just want to wrap up next steps, that would be fine.
Then I think the very first thing just to create a relationship would be just a button on each one of our UIs. On ours, it's like go to open impact. You know, yours is go set up a do. You know, hey, do you want a crypto native organization and start issuing tokens and all that stuff? Cool. Just click a button and go over here. And then the second level of integration then would be using the same information for the profiles. So that when they set up one profile, they automatically have that same information for both. So I think that would be the first kind of touch point, is have the same accounts. And then once we've integrated the same accounts, because then you're already talking to the blockchain, then everything else comes easy up top of that. It's just more calls to more information on chain.
Yeah.
And then if we want to go even further, then when you're doing stuff in open impact and you're saying, hey, I want to get paid for this or whatever, that could actually then go to the do up for a proposal. So that then they're paid it out. So that's where the governance in the do environment, you know.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to have just one layer of conversation to more thoughtfully look at what true kind of de-siloization would look like in that sort of implementation, because I think simply linking back and forth is cool and does not necessarily guarantee full sort of interoperability and sort of consistency of experience. And so I'm curious about how we can ensure that value can be and data can be structured in consistent ways, where we're sort of creating true kind of meaning and value cross-contextually, rather than having, you know, governance shouldn't happen over here and then, you know, kind of activity over here. I think fundamentally they need to, they're in service of one another. They each belong to one another. So.
I think we could get even a little deeper in our relations, Reiki. I think we should definitely discuss.
I'm for it.
It's important to us. We're interoperability. We find the right doc ports, and that we're not being redundant when we can be cooperative. And we're already looking at ways to sort of, you know, we're API based, and we're already looking at experiments to how to have more portability across platforms of first maybe content and profile. But I think that there's some really interesting things that could happen that we could all advance together. So I'm excited to talk more about it, but I know we're like way late on time. So why don't we just find a good time to get on schedule? And Leo would really love to have another dive with you and show you a little bit more of some of the pieces. I think it'll start to aha even more when we kind of like show you some of the mechanics that Katie's got designed into it. It's so aligned and complementary. So I'm stoked to see the progress you guys have made. Good job.
Yeah, I think it could be fun to maybe run through a couple of like sort of case studies or like concrete examples. Does it even make sense for all groups we're talking to, or maybe just for certain, like, I don't know, villages, and like what would they profit from? And like, yeah, I think it's super interesting. Let's talk again.
I'm even curious about running an experiment through our funding the transition group or something like that, like identifying a particular on the ground project to run through. Anyway, I'll keep thinking.
Like practical steps to really see where it makes sense. Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Good job, you guys. It's beautiful. It's gonna really enable a whole lot of things that have been very clunky. So I'm so excited for this to hit the movements. Should we just schedule with you, Reiki, or Leo? Can we get your email so we can kind of loop us all in?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat, and then I'm in Nicaragua right now, so any American time zone kind of works.
Yeah. And Reiki, I'm going to see you in a bit.
And you guys were talking about community currencies. This is happening on the seeds front, where we are making those currencies, so that we can have each one of the villages and local projects that we're working with be able to create their own. And then we already have all the wallets and infrastructure for that to work. So that's already alive today. If you want to start creating local currencies, you can. And then it has this really beautiful wallet where they all exist, and you can do fee-free transactions with all of your currencies.
Cool.
Yay.
So here I can swipe through all the different tokens here. So you can go through all your community currencies that you have, all that stuff. Anyway.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of coming together finally.
Yeah. Good. Let's see what kind of great trouble we can get up to. Thanks for going through it today, Leo.
Yes, thank you guys. Reiki, do you have 3 minutes to stay in the call?
Sure.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Good to see you.
Caitlin.
Nice to meet you. Bye.